Hi, everyone. It is so nice to be with you today. We are Diane Henson and Jen Lang. I am the owner and founder of Creative Family, and Jen is a case manager who also is pursuing a surrogacy journey right now for two dads. So before we jump into that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about using a surrogacy agency. Some of you may have heard me this morning about say that when you select a surrogacy agency, you're trusting. There's a lot of trust in this journey. So you're looking for a surrogacy agency that you trust to guide you through your surrogacy journey. And you're looking for an agency that you trust will find you a surrogate who you in turn can trust to care for your baby. There's just so much trust in this surrogacy process. So we are located in the DC area. We have offices in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but we have clients throughout the country. We have surrogates throughout the country, and we also have clients who come to us from overseas, large numbers in Europe, some in Australia. So we really are a national and international agency. Before we get into Jen's background, because I know everyone loves to hear why someone becomes a surrogate, let me just give you a few minute background about Creative Family Connections and how we are unique. So we are a law firm that does everything a surrogacy agency does. Just to give you an idea of how unique that is, there are only a few companies in the whole country that are structured as we are, and I believe there's nobody else at this conference who does what we are, who do what we do. And as you can tell by our ranking on the men having babies chart, we take our service to our client very seriously. So what does that difference mean from your perspective? Well, first of all, the surrogacy law is very important. We need to match you in a state where we can make sure that your parentage rights are protected, so that you are declared the sole legal parents. As you can see from this surrogacy map that we've created that everyone tends to rely on, there is no national law for surrogacy in our country. It's very much state by state. The good news is that over time, we've made more and more states what we call green light states, and that is just what you think it means. It means it's good for surrogacy. You get to be declared the sole legal parents. You also get a lot of protections by working with a law firm. For example, confidentiality. The attorney-client privilege adheres to everything you tell your agency, a law firm. You always know that your interest is paramount, your money is protected. Our goal, quite simply, is to make your journey as happy as possible, as stress-free as possible, and at the same time, legal and ethical. Those are our overarching goals. And we think it works pretty well. So let's turn to Jen, who, as I said, is not only one of our fantastic case managers, is also a surrogate, a gestational surrogate. So Jen, can you tell everyone why you wanted to become a surrogate?
So I think the main reason I wanted to be a surrogate is why many of our surrogates choose to pursue this. And it's really, I love my children and I love my family. And it was just a great opportunity for me to be able to help somebody else have something similar, be able to have children, have a family, have the same kind of experience that I have. And I had very smooth and easy pregnancies. So this was just a great way that I could help, two dads, one dad, anyone become a parent the same way that I am. So it's been a wonderful experience so far.
And then we first met you when you were a surrogate, we asked you to become a case manager. And what made you decide that you wanted to work for Creative Family Connections?
Yes. So I used to be a registered nurse. Well, I still am licensed as a nurse, but it was just, I loved my job as a nurse, but I had such a great experience working with working with my intended parents and being a surrogate and working with Creative Family Connections, that it was a great opportunity for me to be able to help in another capacity, not just helping build families through being a surrogate, but also through being a case manager. And honestly, I've loved it so far. So it was a great choice. And I love working for Creative Family Connections. And it was just the right choice for me.
It's really our lucky day. So we've really been happy as well. So now that you are a case manager and a surrogate, Jen's actually now doing a repeat sibling journey for her parents. Can you speak to some of the things that you think go above and beyond that have contributed to your having such a great relationship with your intended dads?
Yes. So I researched, before becoming surrogate, I did research different agencies and went with one that, Creative Family Connections, that I trusted and that I read a lot about ahead of time, did a lot of research. And with Creative Family Connections, you get an introduction meeting and you're not just left alone with parents to figure it out yourselves. You have your case manager that's on a call with you, video call, or if everyone's local before COVID, it could be in person sometimes. And it was just a great opportunity to go over all of the important topics, make sure everything was covered that needed to be covered, not just us randomly meeting and talking. And it was a great way for me to meet my intended parents and make sure that we're all on the same page prior to starting our journey. And then with Creative Family Connections, I was also impressed that they do an in-home interview. It used to be in person, but again, COVID changed a few things. So it's now over video, and we do it over, you touch back in if we need to at any point, but pictures of the house, get a tour of the house, meet the husband or the spouse if there is one, make sure that everything is appropriate. And with that, they're also do 2 interviews with a family member or a longtime friend just to ask questions again about the house, make sure that it's safe and clean, make sure that the surrogate's living in a place where you would want her to be pregnant with your baby, that sort of thing. So it was just something, these are things that I looked for as a surrogate because these are things that I would look for as an intended parent. So, you want to work with an agency that you would work with either way. I also feel that Creative Family Connections, they're really supportive. They're constantly were reaching out to me to make sure everything was going okay. I know that they're reaching out to the intended parents just to make sure that everyone has a great relationship and just to make sure that everything is smooth with the legal process or with the hospital or just along the whole journey. It's just great to have someone to check in with. I don't have to go directly to my intended parents if I have a question that I can go to my case manager, make sure that, she could bring it up with the intended parents, and likewise, the intended parents could go to the case manager, and then the case manager would come to me. But, that's why these weekly check-ins are great, because it's a great time just to ask any questions that you're not sure about and make sure that everything, everyone's kind of getting along and going well along the journey.
Right. So, and then I might add that from the parents' perspective, we tell the parents, like, if you have something that you're worried about, that your surrogate has said something about, because the case manager is both your case manager and the surrogate's case manager, you don't have to say, uh-oh, I don't think you can do that. You just get to button it up and then come to your case manager. And then if somebody needs to be the bad cop, that'll be us. You just get to be her cheerleader. So
exactly. From a surrogate point of view, that's a great thing too, honestly. You want to have on both sides, you want to have a great relationship. So it's great to have someone kind of in between that can help figure things out. And, I found that intended parents really like it because then they can stay positive about the journey and stay positive with the surrogate and then go to the case manager, as Diane said, with any issues or anything like that. I'm also impressed, Diane was talking about it being a law firm as well. And I think this really comes into play when you go into parentage. And so you do work with local attorneys, but you always have CFC making sure everything goes well. And so they work with the local attorneys just to make sure the court work's done in time, to make sure parentage is established. And, this is important, obviously, for the parents, it's their baby, but also the surrogate, because I don't want to be a parent of a baby that's not mine. I want the baby to be legally the parents before birth, before that baby's born or immediately after, depending on the state. But it's just, it's important to me. I have my own children. I don't want to be going over the legal stuff afterwards, and the baby be in my name on the birth certificate, that sort of thing, unless it'll legally be changed directly after, which, as I said, in some states, is the case. They also work with the hospital, or as a case manager, we work with the hospital, and we also bring in legal if we need to develop a birth plan, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page for the actual birth. The hospital knows who's going to be in the room, who's going to be at the birth, who the legal parents are, who makes all of the decisions. And again, this is important for surrogate and an intended parent, so that everyone knows exactly what's going to happen. So, we start this at around 15 to 20 weeks, and it's just a great time to start it early on, and to make sure the hospital has a copy at the birth, make sure the parents have a copy, the surrogate. And again, this is one of the reasons I went with CFC, is just that I felt like I was supported throughout the whole journey, and so were the parents, and that everything was done according to how it should be legally and at the hospital and everything like that. We have another, Nikki, one of our recruiting managers, she went through a similar, she went through a journey, and it was with a different agency, and they didn't do a birth plan, and legal court work was not done as it should have been. And she was on the birth certificate, and perhaps still is, Diane. And, it's just, if you work with the wrong agency or someone that's not knowing exactly what they're doing, things like that can happen. And it's, again, important to the surrogate and the intended parents that legally everything is done correctly. Surrogates don't want another baby. They don't want to be on the legal birth certificate for anyone. They want the baby to go to its parents immediately after birth. As soon as that baby's born, I'm ready for the parents to take it.
Right. That's what surrogates say to us. I really don't want diapers at this time. It's sort of win-win for the surrogate. They get to be pregnant again, change your life, but not have the diapers at the end.
Yeah. The best moment is seeing the parents with the baby, and that's what makes it all worth it. Honestly, I'd be fine not even holding the baby. Just seeing the parents with the baby is the most important. Just makes it all worth it. So, but again, the legal stuff is important. So making sure that baby is legally the parent's baby. And that's why I really went with CFC, and why I end up working here, and I love it. So
thank you so much, Jen. Yeah. So that is one of the advantages of working with a law firm that's, integrated with a agency. We got this as a question. The other advantage is that we have no conflict of interest as to who our client is. I've been to conferences that are full of, people who own and manage agencies. And I remember one that I was at, obviously it was pre-COVID because that one was in person. And an agency owner said, so I learned something about the surrogate and it's negative. And, so now I have to decide whether to tell the parents. And then this whole discussion ensued as to, who does the agency represent? And some of the agencies were like, we try to represent everybody. And I'm like, as a lawyer, how does that work? And one of the agencies was like, we represent no one. We're just representing the journey. And that kind of reminded me of the first time I bought real estate and learned my real estate agent didn't represent me. Well, we represent you as the parents, and the surrogate signs something as soon as she becomes interested in us, where she acknowledges that we're going to facilitate her journey. Happy womb makes for a happy baby, but we are not her attorney. She has no attorney-client privilege with us, which means she doesn't have that confidentiality. So in that case that the other agency had where they learned something negative, the only discussion my team would have had is which one of us calls you, because knowledge is power and you absolutely have the right to know it, but it's not nice to give bad news over an email or text. So we're going to call you. So to us, it just eliminates that whole conflict. So that's the answer to that one, is that, among other things, your money is more protected and other things like knowing the law. But I think that really is one of the best things, is that it's really very clear as to everyone's role. Let's see. Do we have experience with parents who bring in a surrogate they know? Absolutely. And in that case, we can do as little or as much as you want us to do. If it's your sister, you're not going to want us to do an in-home visit. That would be, offensive to her. But if it's somebody who was just referred to you, then you may want us to do the full-on screening and support. So we'll do maybe, in the case of your sister, you may want us to do just she'll go through the medical and psych screening, but then we might just do the legal, and she'll of course have her own attorney because we want your relationship to stay wonderful. But yes, we absolutely do. Question for Jen, do you have a good tip on selecting a surrogate?
Well, this really goes back to having a good agency that has a good recruiting team to recruit the surrogates, go over all of the important topics that you would want covered. Do you agree on termination issues? Do you agree on how many embryos to transfer? That sort of thing. So having a good agency with a recruiting team that is matching everything that you want is a good way to first go into selecting a surrogate, is make sure that all of your big topics that you agree on, and if there's any certain personality things or anything like that, you can throw that out there. And it's just, you need a good agency to be able to match you well. So it's really just, I think, agreeing on the big important topics, Diana, you can agree, is probably the most important thing to begin with. And then your relationship develops organically as you go.
Right. And what will happen is we'll send you a package, and we want you to have this gut reaction after you read her answers and her in-home interview and the references where you'll get the exact Q&A. We want you to feel like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. If you don't feel like that, we never want to force a match. We want to know what it is that you have, that what doesn't give you that feeling. If we feel like you're forcing the match, we'll say no. We want you to start off feeling like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. So,
well, if even having the same end goal, do we want any contact of, that sort of thing. It's just matching
exactly
same direction for everything.
Exactly. So really go with your gut. Everything should line up. You should feel like, yes, that you want to start off feeling that way. And with respect to birth certificates, in most states, we can absolutely get both dads on the birth certificate pre-birth. Some states, there's a statute that says it's after birth. And if you're okay with that, that also gives it certainty, but that is totally the end goal. But there's a really good question out there which says, is that the same as establishing parentage? The birth certificate itself is not a legal document. It's the court order that gives you those legal rights. So we want the birth certificate to have both of you, because that's what you're going to take when you register your child for school. But it's really important that the court declares both of you as the legal parents. The example I'll give is there was this case I heard where as a woman gave birth and she didn't want to, they kept saying, well, who's the dad? And she's like, I guess she'd gone to a sperm donor bank. And so she actually finally just put down Harry Potter, and then later was going to, had a partner and wanted to put her partner on it. And how does she get Harry Potter off the birth certificate? It was this big dilemma. So the birth certificate itself isn't what gives you the legal rights, but we do want you both to be on it. So it's the court order that actually conveys those legal rights. So if you're interested in us, want to get pricing, all that, we try to be really transparent. Come to our table. We can get your email. We'll sign you up for more information. We'll send you that. And we look forward to hearing from you, and good luck and congratulations on starting your surrogacy journey. It's a really exciting time. So
as Diane said, please join our table for any questions.
Absolutely. We have a table, and we'll both be at one of them. So thank you.